Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of Agree to Disagree in the Quarantine. I'm your host, Jack Acello, and with me, as always, is Noah Schwartz, Dean Gudick, and Aidan Jard. Gentlemen, how are you today?
Fantastic.
Solid.
What is up?
Thank you. I'm good as well. We got a great show for you guys today lined up. We're going to talk about The Last Dance as that was wrapped up last night, and we're going to do a little GOAT debate between LeBron James and Michael Jordan. And then Dean has got a little quiz for Aidan, Noah, and myself on Sporkle, and then we will give you our winners and losers. Also, I want to shout out one of our new friends that we are affiliated with, 1306 Sports. Follow them on Instagram at 1306 Sports.
I'm going to try and put it in the video right here. We'll see if that works.
I like it. We'll see it editing. All righty, so now let's begin. We're going to talk a little bit about The Last Dance. Who would like to begin?
I'll go right ahead. So I think most of you guys, if not all of you guys, would agree that this was the hands down best sports documentary or documentary series that's ever been made.
I want to disagree with you, but I can't think of anything.
Okay. It was great from night number 1 5 weeks ago up until last night. It was sensational. I loved the ending. I loved the fact that they did the 2 storylines at once throughout the whole series. I thought that was really cool, and they made it work.
The best part.
Yeah, I really loved how we got to see Michael's personal off the court life. We got to see so many of his great highlights, and it was just really fascinating. We really felt that we were living through the 90s and the 80s with Michael and the Bulls. And I don't think any other sports documentary that I've seen truly makes you feel like you lived through something like this one did.
I have to agree with you on that. Well, another takeaway was I love how, other than Jordan, the different characters, they show Rodman, Pippen, the insight of the different players and the team surrounding. I also loved and found it interesting how Michael Jordan's toughest opponents came within the division, the bad boy Detroit Pistons and the Indiana Pacers. You always love to see a good division rival headed into the playoffs.
What I love to see was that every episode had a theme to it. It had outside of obviously Michael Jordan, it had a main character. It had somebody trying to spoil the Bulls. It had something that it was focused on, and I really, really liked that because you got really good tastes of on the Bulls. You got a good taste of Kerr and Pippen and Rodman, and then you also got a lot of stuff on Isaiah Thomas and the Pistons and the Pacers. So and tons more, of course, but those were the ones that stood out to me.
And I also want to point out, just you guys were both mentioning the fact that they played all these teams and they had all these rivals that were either within the conference or that they played in the finals, whatever. But at the same time, throughout the whole series, there was always this tension of the team and Jerry Krause and Jerry Reinsdorf. And it was cool how you could see the external tension between the Bulls and the other teams, but also the internal disagreements that were very evident and obvious between Phil Jackson, the team, and then the front office. I thought that was really interesting. And it just happened to play out throughout the entire series that there was always those tense moments between the two sides.
Yeah, I agree with Aidan the most out of all you guys. I like that they had a main character throughout each episode. One episode it's Steve Kerr, another was Dennis Rodman. Out of everybody that they showed and portrayed, I think Steve Kerr, I think he was the most interesting. He definitely earned my respect. He took a punch from Michael Jordan, and he's had so much tragedy. And I love how he modeled himself. He understood I'm never gonna be a superstar. He modeled himself after Paxson. I thought that was really cool. And
I like the
go.
I liked how not only how he modeled himself against with Paxton, and I love how every like Aidan said, every episode had a theme. Another interesting thing with me was with Rodman and arguably load management. It was interesting to see you had to give him what he wanted so you could get 100% out of him. But I feel if this was in today's NBA and he did this, I feel it'd be more of a problem. It would be more known than it was back then. Granted, Hulk Hogan, if you saw one part where he tried to play it off saying, "Oh, it's better that you came to WCW, brother," rather than going to my little Hulk Hogan voice. rather than going to the NBA Finals. But it's weird how like Rodman had so much time, but Phil Jackson looked at him like a son, like his own guy.
Yeah. That was the one thing I thought was a little ridiculous. Like, you're in the middle of the NBA Finals, and he's going to be a member of the NWO. Like, the NWO is cool and all, but like, you got to win a championship. Like,
Yeah.
Middle of a
Jack,
final.
just think about this, Jack. The Knicks have been arguably the worst team in the league over the last 20 years. And remember when Derrick Rose was missing for like one game a couple of years ago when he was on the team, and it was a whole big media story for weeks about him?
yeah, but that was at least a family matter.
Well, of course, but we didn't know that when it actually happened. We just thought he just didn't show up or he just didn't want to come to the game or whatever the case may be.
Sure.
Matt Harvey actually had the same thing happened to him when he was a Met a few years ago. He just didn't show up, and it became a huge national media story that these guys didn't show up.
Yeah.
And that was in the regular season for teams that weren't really that great. Now you're talking about the greatest team possibly ever in its last championship run and a Hall of Fame player leaving. I mean, just think about how crazy that is and how it didn't distract them and how they were still able to end up being champions repeatedly over the 3 years that he was there, but especially in that 98 season.
He was still grabbing a lot of boards. He was still playing well.
He's a beast. One of the best rebounders ever.
Easily.
Now that The Last Dance is done, we've seen a documentary about the Bulls dynasty. What sports dynasty do you want to see covered next?
For me, I'd want to see one of two. Actually three. I'd love to see a whole documentary on the Patriots. That'd be that'd be really interesting. And then for basketball, I'd say either the Kobe and Shaq Lakers or the Golden State Warriors.
Oh, yeah, I agree with I want to either say Patriots or I'm gonna go on a limb and talk about hockey. The New York Islanders in the 1980s.
Okay, nice.
I would love actually to see a couple of different teams. I'd love to see Golden State, as you guys were mentioning, but then I'd love to see the Derek Jeter Yankees throughout that tenure. Because remember, Jeter won all his championships, or the vast majority of his championships, early in his career in the 90s, the four-peat, and then won his last one in 2009, and then he kind of fell off sort of a cliff with a lot of injuries, and the team wasn't as good after that. But that would be the team that I'd love to see, especially here in New York.
Personally, I would love to see, I mean, I know I'm from Boston, but the 50s and 60s Celtics, I would love to see some stuff about that. It was a really different era of basketball, so it would be a good contrast to, the 90s Bulls. Or I would also like to see, I think it could be interesting to watch the 90s Cowboys. But again, that would just bring back all of the Cowboys fans who are like, this is our year.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God.
Not there
Sure.
yet.
They can make a Cowboy documentary over the course of, 30 years, though. I mean, every year the Cowboys are at least interesting, even if they don't win.
Yeah. Even when they're bad, they're interesting.
Yeah, they're always in the news. I have another one.
Go ahead.
I have another question for you guys. All right, sorry. I just want to pose one more question. They were talking at the end of The Last Dance how Michael Jordan believes that all of them everybody would have accepted one-year contracts to try and go at it one more time. And especially the knowledge that we know, the NBA had a lockout shortened season that year. I think they only played 50 games. Do you guys believe they would have won one more?
Not without Jackson.
Yeah.
I don't. I think that thing had run its course. And the one really interesting part of when Jordan was talking about that was when he was talking and said, hey, I think we could bring back Scottie. We could convince him. He wanted his money, but we could have told him to come back for another year and he would have done it. I don't know about that. And I don't think they would have won without Pippen if he was not there the next year. They probably wouldn't have been able to win. Plus, what happened now. Michael sliced his finger, apparently, after that season, and he would have missed pretty much the entire 99 season during the lockout, so I don't think they would have won it. They had a lot of guys that were older and becoming free agents as well.
I was going to actually say quickly, Jack, you mentioned about documentaries. An interesting one I was going to say was Urban Meyer, going from Florida, retiring, faking a brain tumor, whatever he did, then going to Ohio State and winning a championship. I would like to see an Urban Meyer documentary and see how he went to a Florida team which was full of characters, Aaron Hernandez, Tebow, Cam Newton, retiring, and then going to Ohio State.
Okay.
All right, should we move on to the next? I mean, it kind of goes with the subject.
Yeah, so moving on into the next subject, the debate of all debates, the debate that will never end, Jordan versus LeBron. I'm gonna let. Normally I would ask you guys who to go first, but I think this is a 3-1. This is a 3-on-1 battle, so I'm gonna let the LeBron lover himself, Noah Schwartz, go first.
Wait, may I before you go, just for the sake of making it a more even argument, I do believe Jordan is better, but I'll side with Noah on this one. I'll fight against you guys for LeBron.
No, Aidan.
No?
I don't want any people jumping on the bandwagon now.
All right. Even though you're wrong, I was trying to help you, man.
No.
All right.
I don't need your help.
LeBron lover, take it away.
So here's the thing. This documentary, as great as it was, one of the things that it did not do was show me how great Michael Jordan was at basketball. I already knew that. I already knew how talented of a mid-range shooter he was. He was the greatest mid-range shooter of all time. I already knew how great the Bulls were. I already knew all the records they set. I already knew all the titles they won. I knew all that. This just showed me the inside look at it. But I already knew how they won and a lot of what happened. Now, what this documentary also showed me was that despite all these records and championships that they won, Michael Jordan was not a better basketball player, just purely on talent, than LeBron James. He may have been more popular. He may have been the bigger celebrity, all of that. But he was not a basketball player on the court than LeBron James could ever dream of being. LeBron is a better defender. I mean, he just is. He's a more versatile, team-oriented defender. He's the better passer. Nobody can argue that. He's the greatest driver of the basketball of all time. He can get to the rim at will. Everybody knows that as well. He is the most versatile player of all time. He can guard every position on the court. He can play every position on the court on offense. He is the biggest, most strongest, most athletic player to ever step on the floor. Just the pure skill level and combine that with his body and the body type that he's got. He's the greatest player of all time. He's been to 9 finals. He has won 3 championships. He's been the underdog in the vast majority of his championship appearances. I don't really blame him for many of the final losses, because how can you blame him to lose to Kevin Durant and the Warriors? How can you blame him in 2007 to lose to the Spurs? Most of those championship losses, you really can't say, oh, it was LeBron's fault. Like, how can you say that? So there are a lot of things that to me draw me in towards LeBron. I think the game is more difficult than it ever has been. The players are more skilled. And I understand that I'm not going to convince anybody. This documentary only makes it harder for people like me to convince you that, oh, hey, LeBron is the greatest. He's just going to have to
get a LeBron documentary soon.
Well, yeah, there'll be one, but not for a while. So he's just going to have to show you, based on the amount of championships that he wins, I think he'll win a 4th this year, the amount of records that he set. He'll have every single playoff scoring, assist, rebound record that's imaginable. He'll have every single regular season record in terms of scoring. He'll be top 5 all time in assists. He'll have all that. And he'll probably lead the league all time in all-star appearances, first team All-NBA, all those different things. He's the rookie of the year in 04, excuse me. So when you combine all that, he's done it for so long. He's been so consistent, and he's the greatest player of all time. Sorry, Michael. You just didn't do it for long enough and just didn't prove enough to me.
All right. First things first. You mentioned LeBron's record in NBA Finals. That's not the best record. That's not the record of a player who is the greatest of all time. 6-0, that's the record of a player who's the greatest of all time. That's point one, and that's just a small point.
So what about teams that Michael played in the finals? Name one time he was the underdog.
That's true, but that's not what I'm saying. He was not the underdog. He was favored every time because he did have a better team around him. Yes, but the team, basketball is a team sport. Every sport is a team sport. Basketball might be less so than some others, like football. But it still is important to have a team. One player isn't going to carry a team. And it just simply won't work out that way. The other thing is, the thing that I find most fascinating about Michael Jordan is the fact that he was so good. He was so dominant that he got bored of basketball, quit, played another sport for a year and a half, and then came back and was just as dominant than before he had quit. That is something that no other athlete could do. He quit in his prime to play another sport.
What about Bo Jackson? He played 2 different sports and was great at both of them. Michael wasn't even good at baseball.
But he didn't play long enough to be considered. I mean, he didn't play long enough in either.
Okay, fine.
LeBron is more dominant, more muscular. But Jordan, you cannot bet against Jordan's drive. Jordan has a drive where you cannot bet against. And in the words of Jalen Rose,
Yes, I was going to bring this up.
MJ stopped teams from winning. And the teams MJ faced, yeah, you could say the talent's better now. LeBron, Michael played the bad boy Pistons. And the bad boy Pistons, it's not like, and when they played dirty, it's not like they were just shoving him. They were clotheslining him in midair. And if that was in today's NBA, I feel like, don't get me wrong, LeBron's got the muscle, but I still think he would still complain to the refs and whatever.
So hold on, Nate. So you're telling me that if LeBron played in a more physical era, he still wouldn't be the best player in the world?
The fact that Michael Jordan went through that just showed mental toughness, and Michael has that mental toughness. LeBron would cry every single call about the Pistons clotheslining him every single play in midair. And another thing, Jack, if you want to take it away or not, you could take the Jalen Rose thing.
Yeah, so I agree with Dean what he was going to say, and I really like this point Jalen Rose made. The biggest difference between Jordan and LeBron is that everybody in Jordan's era, all those greats, no one won on Jordan's expense. Jordan kept so many greats from winning rings. Charles Barkley, Patrick Ewing, Reggie Miller, Stockton Malone, Peyton, Kemp, you can name so many. When you think about all the greats in LeBron's time, almost all of them pretty much have their rings. Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Tim Duncan, Kawhi Leonard, Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, all of them, they all have won on his expense. And there's been plenty of situations where LeBron has looked like he's either quit or, like, for example, in 09 when he quit against the Magic, and the following year when he quit against the Celtics and then took his talents to South Beach. But also the biggest thing, and
Michael actually quit. LeBron didn't quit.
LeBron has quit on his team 4 times.
Yes.
3 times. 3 times.
Yeah.
That's not what you want to see from a champion. Like,
yes.
Yeah, Michael quit on his team, but he didn't quit because his team wasn't playing well enough. He quit because he was so good that it wasn't fun for him anymore.
He just lacked more motivation to keep going.
LeBron quit. LeBron left the Cavaliers because they weren't willing to put a team around him to win games.
He didn't have support around him.
LeBron left Miami because the big 3 fell apart around him. And then he left the Cavaliers again because they still wouldn't put a team around him. And mark my words.
Why is that LeBron's fault?
LeBron is not ending his career as a Laker.
But I also say it is kind of partially LeBron's fault, especially his second stint in Cleveland. He was basically his own general manager. So why is he not getting talent around him?
If
he was not his own general manager. Everybody likes David Griffin. He's doing great with the Pelicans right now.
LeBron James could have asked for any player, and they would have been able to get him, because imagine being able to play with LeBron James. It's the same as the Patriots. You know, the Patriots could ask for anybody they wanted to come to them in free agency, and everybody would, because it's the frickin' Patriots. It's Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. You're going to win a Super Bowl. Michael Jordan could do that too. Why couldn't LeBron James?
Yeah. And also another big...
Hold on. LeBron had opportunities to get great players, and there were players that said no to playing alongside LeBron. Paul George didn't want to go to the Lakers a year ago in free agency. He could have. He stayed with Oklahoma City. A couple years before that, in 2017, I believe, the Cavs had a chance to acquire Paul George for Kyrie Irving, and that trade almost happened, and it didn't happen. It ended up falling through. There were other chances for stars to come join LeBron, and they were like, I'll try and go against the greatest player ever, or the greatest player of my generation, and most of the time they didn't end up winning.
That's fair.
You can argue that. And also, back to one of your points I mentioned, you say Jordan didn't go up against this tough competition in the finals. I give you that, but I want to say LeBron has never had as tough of a road to get to the finals that Jordan had. He never had to go through the Knicks, the bad boys, and the Pacers to get there in one season.
So what about the
weakest conference in the world
that won the championship? He had to go through them. He had to go through the Celtics with 3 or 4 possibly Hall of Famers. He went through them. He went through the Bulls with Derrick Rose when he was an MVP, and Joakim Noah was an MVP candidate through that time. He beat the Pacers repeatedly when the Pacers had Paul George and Roy Hibbert. Lance Stevenson was one of his kind of
Pacers got the best team.
What?
The Pacers, he was easily the best team. That wasn't even a competition, basically. Everyone knew they were going to win
went
that.
to 7 games one year, and then he had to beat the Raptors multiple times in the postseason. They were always a top team.
With Raptors.
He's beaten the Celtics like a million different times.
I don't appreciate that.
Every single Eastern Conference challenger of the last 15 years, essentially. Literally every team that's been a contender in the Eastern Conference has at some point lost to LeBron James, and that team then broke apart.
And this is why we call it agree to disagree.
Yes, we do.
Exactly.
Don't get me wrong. LeBron is the best passer. LeBron is a great figure off the court. I still would prefer Jordan as a teammate. But, and to clear things up with you, Noah, I think LeBron would handle it, but I don't think he would have handled it the way Michael did. And I still think he would have a hard time against the bad boy Pistons if he played against them back then.
And did Michael?
Yeah, but
Michael
also
had a hard time, but then afterwards he got by them.
Okay, well, LeBron had a hard time with the Celtics until he started beating them a bunch of times.
Until the
Once he
Celtics
got help.
completely fell apart.
Okay. In the world. LeBron was in the finals every single time.
No, he barely beat them. They were all 36, and he barely escaped them. It was down 3-2.
Went from having one of the best rosters in the NBA to just having nobody in the span of like 3.
So what about the Pistons then in 07? He had lost to the Pistons before, and the Pistons had won a championship 3 years prior. He had to beat them. You guys remember the 48 special? 29 out of 30 points, 25 straight double overtime win in the conference finals in 07. It happened.
That was a good game, but they weren't the same Pistons team.
And were the Detroit Pistons in 91 when the Celtics...
They didn't have both Wallaces.
Okay, yeah, and sure, but when the Pistons went up against the Bulls in 91, when the Bulls beat them, everybody knew at that point, hey, the Bulls are coming up, they're coming. And Isaiah, we know, had gotten older. He had only played a couple more years after that. Bill Laimbeer was older. They were an older team too, so it wasn't like they were the same team that won the championship a year earlier. They were still a different team.
You make a good point, and I don't think I hate comparing players between generations.
It's like
it's really difficult. Jordan and LeBron played in 2 different eras of basketball. It's like comparing, Drew Brees and Dan Marino. It's hard to say which one's better, even though I have my own opinions.
Yeah, I agree with you.
They played.
And the other thing is, I'm not convincing anybody. I know nobody's going to jump ship at any point in the near future. I know that.
You made a more convincing argument than most people that I've heard online.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say. But I think we should move on.
Yeah, we definitely
should. For the sake of time.
We should all move on while we're still friends. So let's move on to a Sporkle quiz. Dean, you have a quiz for us?
Great transition, Jack. So yes, I have a quiz for you guys. I'll share screen right now, actually.
Also, just want to point out, if you heard any noise from my camera a few minutes ago, it was because my dad brought me down some chocolate chip cookies, homemade.
Oh, lucky.
Oh.
I will take a bite right here on camera.
Oh, nice.
Oh, please.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Just rub it in.
Delicious.
That's all right. So I wanted, because we last time we did football and baseball, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I wanted to do something a little different, a little college basketball. I miss March Madness. You get it. So can you pick the teams that have advanced to the Final Four of the NCAA men's basketball tournament in the 64-team era only once during the 64-team bracket?
All right, go ahead.
Most of these are big conferences. No, I know you're a big college guy.
If you get one wrong, does it end?
No.
Okay.
I'm going to start off because I feel I will have the least participation because I'm not a big college guy. So I'm going to start with one I already know for sure. I will go with the Duke Blue Devils.
No, this
one time, Jack. They made it more than once.
Jack, this is for one time only.
I thought it was more than once. I'm sorry.
No, only once.
Oh, yeah. No, I thought it said more than once. Here, no, you can start.
Rams, Dean.
What'd you say?
VCU Rams.
VCU Rams. Jesus, I
don't. Wait, what's the time frame for this?
4 minutes. Three
no. Like, how long?
The 64-team era, which goes back quite a while.
Okay.
Texas Tech Red Raiders.
Really?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wisconsin Badgers.
Oh man.
I'm gonna take
You're
a
actually
wild
wrong.
guess. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong.
On that one.
But West Virginia.
You're actually right.
I know nothing about college basketball.
Yeah, same.
George Mason.
I know nothing about college. I'm just gonna take a guess.
George
I
Mason.
know Oregon, UNC, they've both made it more than once. Duke's made it more than once.
LSU, I think, has only made it one time.
You're at oh Jesus. You're actually wrong.
Oh, dang it. Mississippi State, I believe, has only made it once. That would
Yes,
make sense
sir.
to me. You guys can keep guessing. I'm not sure.
I'll go with the Oklahoma State Cowboys. How about them?
That's wrong.
Oh.
Thank God it's not a
Boy.
cowboy.
Is Marquette one of them?
Yes, it is.
I'm just gonna close my eyes and guess. Say Seton Hall.
Yep.
2 for 2. I'm
Ohio
guessing.
State, too.
What'd you say, Noah?
Ohio State?
Nah, I think Ohio
Ohio
State's
State? No.
I'll go with the Bearcats.
Cincinnati? Yep.
I'm gonna
Hey, I
say
got one.
St. John's Redmen.
St. John's Redmen. Yep.
Georgia Tech.
Georgia. Nope.
Dang it.
The Utes.
Oh. Yep.
Stanford.
The Louisville Cardinals.
No.
Wait, someone say Stanford?
Yeah, Stanford.
Stanford's correct. Louisville's incorrect.
I'm just thinking Trez. I was just thinking for Trez.
I remember Peyton Siva.
South Carolina, Dean?
Yes, sir. No, you're killing this.
UMass, I think. Matt Minutemen.
Wait, what'd you say?
UMass.
Matt UMass.
Yep.
Butler.
Loyola, right above them.
Oh yeah, I want to go to Loyola.
Loyola's correct.
Oh, I got wrong with Butler. That was my first incorrect.
Auburn.
Auburn. Yep.
Arkansas right next to it.
That's it.
Oh.
Hey. Well,
The same score as I got.
Okay.
As you
I like
can
that
see,
one.
we do not know very much about college basketball. We got to get our knowledge up.
Well, March Madness got canceled. We were all a little stiff without college basketball.
Yeah. All right. Well, now it is time for winners and losers. I believe Noah and Dean have the winners, so I will let Dean take it away.
All right, so I have two winners. My first one is Maryland. Not only for getting earlier on Raheem Jarrett from LSU and flip his commitment to Maryland, but Taulia Tagovailoa going to Maryland. I can't believe I said that name right. Maryland's building something. Maryland's building something. And my other winner is the German league, the soccer league, the Bundesliga. It was weird seeing it without fans, no energy, but it's great to see that at least sports is coming back. You know, that you'll see like other sports are having a plan like the NHL, but it's great to see that it's like slowly but steadily. Sports is making their way back.
Yeah, I've got a couple winners as well. Number one is the sport of golf. They had their first real tournament since the whole pandemic this weekend, and they've got the big Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Phil Mickelson, Tiger Woods event coming up this coming weekend, so that'll be cool.
Yeah, I'm excited for that.
Then another winner for me is New York Met fans, because apparently my man Bartolo Colon is interested in coming back for his age 47 season this year and wants to play for the Mets. So Brody Van Wagenen, get it done.
I want to see Bartolo hit a home run again.
Syndergaard went down. There's a perfect slot for him.
Exactly. All right, those are my winners.
Big sexy.
Those are my winners.
All right, I'm gonna start. I actually have a couple losers and I have a couple winners. I'm gonna say both. My big loser is New York Giants fans, knowing that the arrest of DeAndre Baker has just occurred, and I was just thinking about Goldstein, and I was just laughing as soon as I heard that. Just what a stupid thing to do, and he should be facing a suspension. the couple winners I have, the winners are all of us, because today we found out we will be going back to school eventually. Woo! So that was good news. That's something to celebrate. October 5th, you'll see us back in the studio.
Woo!
And my other winner, as I believe they opened their practice facility today, is the future NBA champion, Los Angeles Clippers. That one's for you, Dean.
Yes.
Boo!
Oh, no, you're just a hater.
Hey, Lakers opened up yesterday.
It's not going to be the Lakers either. It's going to be the Boston Celtics. My loser is me for just saying that. No. My loser this week is the UFC. I'm aware that they had the fight was good that they showed on ESPN. But as somebody who does not watch the UFC a lot, I was really excited to watch it. And to me, it's just not the same without the crowd. It really takes a lot away from the fights when you can't hear the screaming and the roaring from the crowd. And I just felt like it made it significantly worse. But that is coming from me, someone who doesn't watch a lot of fighting. So.
All right.
Well, this has been another episode of Agree to Disagree in the quarantine. I'm sure we'll be back with another episode this week. Thank you guys for listening. Also, go out and subscribe to 1306 Sports, and it will be in the video. It'll be in the video once Aidan uses his magical editing powers, and I believe there will be a description below.
Bang.
Also, follow our YouTube channel. It's called Agree to Disagree on VIC. You can subscribe. That's where all our episodes go up now. And goes out and follow us. Yeah.
And of course, always follow us on Twitter and Instagram. I'm really hoping that I'm going to be able to put those graphics in because it would be really awkward if I couldn't.
You better hope you can now.
All righty.
All right. Well, see you guys next time.
Absolutely.